Robin Hood. Chapter 1. Robin Hood becomes an outlaw. Robert, also known as Robin Hood, was born during the 12th century. During this period, England was in a difficult situation due to the absence of King Richard, who was on a crusade in the Holy Land. One day, the brutal sheriff of Nottingham slaughtered Robin's father and took absent his lands. Youthful Robin misplaced his father, his domestic, his lands and all his possessions. He gotten away to Sherwood woodland with his faithful workers. They'd chosen to live as free men within the timberland. They didn't need to be slaves of Lord John. In any case, the Lord considered them outlaws. When Robin and his men come to Sherwood timberland, they sat down to rest. Robin Hood grinned at his faithful workers. At that point he said to them, "My companions, Sherwood woodland is our unused home. Presently we are free, but we are outlaws. Everybody within the kingdom is against us. Master, we are not anxious since you're with us," said Much. "Yes, I will remain with you, but you must do what I tell you. We must not gotten to be burglars. We must never hurt the destitute, the ancient, ladies or children. We must regard and insure them. We take as it were from wealthy dealers, aristocrats and fat churchmen. Here is my arrange. When wealthy voyagers come into Sherwood timberland, we welcome them to eat with us. At that point, they must pay for their nourishment. They must donate us half of everything they have. We at that point deliver this cash to the destitute. Do you promise to do what I tell you?" "Yes, we do," they cried. Robin and the outlaws lived in caverns within the woodland. The caverns were a culminate stowing away put. They were warm and dry within the winter. Within the summer they were cool. They were cheerful within the timberland. They all wore green dress and carried bows and bolts. Robin had a horn to grant signals. Soon, other legitimate men joined the outlaws of Sherwood Forest, Nat, Will Scarlet and others. The outlaws were fabulous bowmen. Robin Hood got to be the leading toxophilite within the locale. Within the timberland, Robin and his men practiced with their bows and arrows. Chapter 2. Robin meets Little John. Robin once arrived at a stream that had a tiny bridge. He heard a loud voice say, "I want to cross the brook first," as he started to cross it. When Robin glanced around, he noticed a huge young man. He stood tall. "No, I was first," Robin retorted. "Can you help me get off the bridge?" the huge man said. He had a wooden staff in his hand. A staff was created by Robin by cutting a long branch from a tree. He then started to brawl on the bridge. Robin moved quickly and easily. However, before long, the huge man pushed Robin into the ocean. He has great strength. The huge man chuckled. He then extricated Robin from the sea. Robin also began to chuckle. "You are a brave fighter," Robin exclaimed. "What is your name, please?" "John Little is my name. I'm a man of integrity. In the Holy Land, I fought alongside the good men of King Richard." The sword used by King Richard and his warriors were both forged by me. He is a superb monarch. John, though, is his vicious and avaricious brother. I have no desire to serve King John. I'm trying to find Robin Hood. I want to join his band of criminals. Welcome to our jovial band of criminals. Robin Hood, he exclaimed with a smile. King Richard is my friend, and I am his friend. John Small was exceptionally shocked. At that point, the two men grasped and got to be great friends. "Now merely ban, you must alter your title. Your unused title is Small John." Robin took Little John to the mystery stowing away put within the timberland. The outlaws invited Small John with a huge meal. Little John was a master sword creator. Before long, each prohibit had an unused sword. The outlaws preferred Small John since he was neighborly and kind. At night, everybody sat around the fire and listened to his stories. He told them approximately his enterprises within the sacred land. Chapter 3. Friar Tuck joins the outlaws. Will Scarlet told Robin that in Sherwood Forest, a big, fat man lived in a cavern near a river. Robin decided to meet him one day. He went to the river and noticed a fat friar fishing. "Good morning, young man," the friar said. "Good day," Robin Hood replied. "You're fishing in an illegal river." "I own the fish you catch. Today you can fish here, but only if you carry me across the river." The friar was offended by what Robin said. So he looked him in the eyes and said, "I can carry you across the river." "You are extremely thin. Would you mind carrying me across the river?" Robin was taken aback by this. "Of course, I can transport you. I am your quite heavy, friar." "But I can carry you," Robin said. "Now you must carry me back," Robin said on the other side of the river. The friar began to transport Robin Hood across the river. But when they got to the middle of the river, the friar came to a halt. "Goodness!" he exclaimed as he sniffed Robin. "You have the odor of an old rat. You should take a nice, cold bath." As a result, the friar threw Robin into the freezing water. He laughed loudly before dragging Robin to the river bank. At first, Robin was enraged. He then smiled and said, "You were correct. I needed to take a bath. I'm feeling better now. You are free to fish in this river whenever you want, my good friar." "Let us shake hands before I leave," the friar said. "Oh, don't leave," Robin said. "Hello, my name is Robin Hood." "What? Are you Robin Hood?" inquired the friar. He was taken aback. "Yes. Come live with me and my band of outlaws. We're all good, honest guys. We take from the wealthy and give to the needy. We need a friar because we need God's word. Can you tell me your name?" "My name is Friar Michael Tuck from Fountains Abbey. I had a disagreement with my abbot. He was extremely wealthy and greedy. He never assisted the poor. He had forgotten God's teachings. He wanted to punish me after I told him this. I ran away to the woods. Presently I live a straightforward life. If you need to live a basic life and offer assistance the destitute, at that point come to Sherwood Forest," said Robin. The two men shook hands and guaranteed to be companions for life. Chapter 4. Wanted, Dead or Alive. Some long time passed, and there were more than 200 outlaws living in Sherwood timberland. Robin Hood was the saint of the destitute. He proceeded victimizing the wealthy to grant to the destitute. Robin Hood called this the Sherwood Charge. All the wealthy voyagers who passed through Sherwood timberland paid the Sherwood tax. The Sheriff of Nottingham sent an armed force of troopers to Sherwood timberland to capture Robin Hood. But Robin and his outlaws were within the trees. They slaughtered all the troopers, but one Robin and his men were the finest toxophilites of the locale. They knew the woodland superbly. They were never perplexed of battling the warriors of the evil Sheriff of Nottingham. It was incomprehensible to halt Robin Hood. The sheriff was incensed since the individuals giggled at him. He was never able to capture Robin Hood. Ruler John was incensed as well. his subjects a cherished ruler Richard and despised him. One day, Lord John stood on the castle dividers. He talked to all his individuals. He said, "We must capture Robin Hood and his outlaws. They are our foe. I can pay 100 pieces of gold for Robin Hood, dead or lively. Bring me that outlaw." From that day on, Robin's life was in awesome danger. Chapter 5. Robin meets Maid Marian. When Robin Hood was a boy, his best companions were Marian Fitzwater and her brother, Stamp. Robin played with them and instructed them to utilize the bow and bolt. He too instructed them to battle with the sword. Robin cherished as it were housekeeper Marian, and she cherished as it were him. One spring day Marian's father, Master Robert Fitzwater of Maliset, said to her, "Marian, you're a lovely housekeeper. Before long you must marry. There's a really wealthy aristocrat who needs to wed you." "What is his name?" Marian asked. "His title is Sir Fellow of Gisborne, a great companion of the Sheriff of Nottingham." When Marian listened this, she was exceptionally despondent. This was loathsome. She did not need to wed Sir Fellow of Gisborne. She adored Robin Hood and needed to wed him. She chosen to run absent to connect Robin Hood. She masked herself as a knight. At that point she took her horse and went to Sherwood Forest. Robin Hood was within the timberland. He was coming from Nottingham, and was camouflaged as a beggar. They met within the timberland. It was evening and it was nearly dark. When Robin saw the knight, he inquired, "What are you doing within the forest?" "What are you doing here, hobo man?" replied the knight. They did not perceive each other. "This is Prohibit Nation. Go back. You can't remain here. We do not know you." Robin said, "I cannot go back. I am not perplexed of outlaws," replied the knight, taking out a sword. "I am prepared to battle you." And so the battle started. Both were specialists with the sword. But Robin fell to the ground. The knight said, "Now, take me to your pioneer. Take me to Robin Hood." She took off her protective cap and Robin was exceptionally astounded. It was his expensive Marian. Robin took off his hobo dress. Marian perceived Robin. She, as well, was exceptionally shocked. At that point, they kissed. There was incredible bliss in Sherwood Woodland that evening. Marian and Robin were finally together. Monk Tuck hitched them after a number of days. There was an enormous wedding celebration within the forest. Housekeeper Marian was presently portion of Sherwood timberland. She was tender and kind to all. Everybody adored her. Chapter 6. The sheriff's ride. Robin Hood's notoriety was all over. The individuals called him Holy Person Robin, and Robin, Sheriff of Sherwood Woodland. A parcel of unused outlaws joined Robin Hood. They were steadfast to him and taken after him all over. The sheriff's men did not need to go to Sherwood Woodland to capture Robin Hood. They were anxious. The Sheriff of Nottingham was exceptionally irate. He needed to capture Robin, dead or alive. What is off base with my men? They're anxious of Robin Hood. They are all imbecilic quitters. I do not require anybody. I am progressing to Sherwood timberland alone. I'm not anxious of a legend. The sheriff cleared out for Sherwood timberland alone. He entered the dim woodland and saw no one for a long time. Abruptly, a bunch of outlaws hopped down from the treetops. They made a huge circle around the sheriff. At that point they took out their swords. The sheriff was startled. His confront got to be white. One prohibit said, "Well, well, what do we have here?" The Sheriff of Nottingham in person. "Oh, if you don't mind, do not murder me," said the apprehensive sheriff. "I can deliver you everything I have." The outlaws snickered at the sheriff and said, "Our ace is holding up for you." "Robin Hood?" inquired the sheriff. "Yes, Robin Hood. You're welcomed to eat with us. I'm not hungry." "Let me go. I can provide you cash, gold, gems. But if you don't mind, let me go," the sheriff said. "Start strolling, you butcher," said Will Scarlet. The outlaws took the sheriff to Robin Hood. "Let's murder him," the outlaws cried. "Let's slaughter this fat butcher now." Robin Hood looked at the sheriff with nauseate. He needed to slaughter him as well. But Marian seized him. "We are not butchers like this man," said Marian. "We are genuine people. Sit down and eat with us, Sheriff," said Robin. "After the supper, I have a shock for you." The sheriff was not hungry. At the conclusion of the feast, Robin said, "Now give us everything you've got. Cash, gold, gems." At that point, take off all your dress. Get on your horse and return to Nottingham naked. Robin, Marian, and the outlaws chuckled fiercely. The sheriff got on his horse and returned to Nottingham. He was exceptionally cold and exceptionally angry. I must capture that Robin Hood and crush him," yelled the sheriff. When he come to Nottingham, the individuals saw him exposed. Everybody looked at him. They pointed at him and snickered uproariously. "Long live Robin Hood, the sheriff of Sherwood Forest," they cried. Chapter 7. The Silver Arrow. After his enterprise in Sherwood Woodland, the sheriff of Nottingham said to his men, "I must capture Robin Hood and crush him." "How can we capture him?" The sheriff thought for a few time. At that point he said, "I know how able to capture him. Let's have an bows and arrows competition here in Nottingham. The most excellent toxophilites of the locale continuously come to the competition. The prize for the most excellent bowman is the popular silver arrow." One of his men inquired, "But will Robin come to the competition?" "Of course. Robin adores challenges," said the sheriff. "He will come masked and we must find him." The sheriff's delivery people went everywhere and told everyone about the competition. One day, Minister Tuck listened the news. He promptly told Robin and the outlaws. Robin said, "I'm the finest toxophilite within the locale. I can effortlessly win the silver arrow." "Oh, Robin, do not go," said Marian. "It's a trap. The sheriff needs to murder you." "Yes, Robin," said Monk Tuck, "it's a trap. It's perilous for you to go. I must go. I never deny a challenge. I will camouflage myself as a destitute laborer. No one will perceive me. Can we come to insure you?" inquired Robin's men. "Yes, you'll be able come disguised as peasants too. You'll be able remain within the swarm. But be prepared to battle, on the off chance that necessary." One morning in May, Robin and his outlaws went to the arrow-based weaponry competition. When they arrived in Nottingham, the castle square was full of individuals. An bows and arrows competition was an uncommon occasion. There were performers, gymnastic performers, children, rulers, and women. There were colorful banners everywhere. All around the castle square, there were troublesome targets. There were numerous great bowmen at the contest. They all attempted to hit the targets. But the finest bowman was the laborer within the ruddy cloak and hood. He hit all the foremost troublesome targets. The swarm yelled with bliss. He was the champ. The sheriff was quiet. He knew that the laborer with the ruddy cloak and hood was Robin. "Guards, halt that laborer within the ruddy cloak," cried the irate sheriff. He is our adversary, Robin Hood, the outlaw. The sheriff's watches ran to capture Robin. But Robin's men assaulted the watches. There was a part of battling. Robin and his men slaughtered or harmed most of the sheriff's men. Then they rapidly cleared out Nottingham and returned to Sherwood Woodland. When they arrived, they celebrated their victory. Chapter 8. Alan Adale. Robin and Marian were strolling through the woodland when they saw a youthful man sitting close a waterway. He was playing a lyre and singing a pitiful song. "Who are you, and why are you singing this pitiful song?" inquired Robin. "My title is Alan of Barnesdale, but individuals call me Alan Adale. I am exceptionally troubled since I cherish a young lady called Alice. She cherishes me as well, but her father needs her to wed a wealthy ancient aristocrat. The marriage is tomorrow at Papelwick Church." The youthful man was so troubled that he began to cry. Robin and Marian looked at each other. Marian recollected her comparative circumstance a few times back. At that point Robin said, "I need to assist you, Alan Adale. I have arranged. Come with me." Early the following morning, Robin sent his best toxophilites to Papelwick. They covered up interior the church and all around it. Robin, Monk Tuck and Alan Adale camouflaged themselves as basic laborers. At that point they went to Papelwick. They entered the church and sat down. At early afternoon, the religious administrator and the wealthy ancient noble entered the church. At that point Alice arrived with her father. She wore a white dress and she had blooms in her hair. She was excellent, but exceptionally pitiful and pale. When the cleric started the marriage ceremony, Robin stood up and said, "My ruler, an revolting ancient man, cannot wed this excellent youthful lady. Winter cannot wed spring." "What?" cried the cleric. "Sit down and be silent. There is no ado between that ancient man and this youthful lady. You must not wed them." The religious administrator was angry. He cried, "Guards, capture this laborer immediately." At that minute, Robin's men stood up and pointed their bows and bolts at the watches. The watches did not move. The religious administrator ran out of the church. Alan Adale ran to Alice and grasped her. "My sweet Alice, I need to wed you." Alice was exceptionally upbeat and said, "You are the as-it-were man I need to marry." Friar Tuck hitched the upbeat couple at Papelwick Church. At that point, everybody returned to Sherwood Woodland to appreciate the wedding feast. Alan Adale and Alice lived in Sherwood Woodland with Robin, Marian, and the outlaws. Chapter 9: A Stanger Within the Forest. One evening Robin was chasing within the woodland. He saw a knight riding an ancient, tired horse. The knight wore the ruddy cross of the Crusader. "Good evening, youthful man," said the knight. "What is the title of this forest?" "This is Sherwood Timberland, sir," replied Robin. "I have come from the sacred Arrive. I was there for a long time. I battled numerous wars against the Turks. Presently I am exceptionally tired and hungry," said the knight. Robin said, "Brave knight, come and eat with me and my men. You'll remain with us tonight. Thank you for your offer. I am cheerful to acknowledge it." The two men rode through the woodland together. Robin told the stranger almost covetous ruler John and his evil sheriff. He told him how the destitute individuals endured. He clarified why he got to be in ban. The stranger tuned in carefully. There was a great feast of broiled pork that evening. The stranger enjoyed the joyful company of Robin, Marian, and the outlaws. He talked around his experiences within the sacred land. At the conclusion of the supper, Robin stood up and said, "Let us drink to great Lord Richard, and to his return." Everyone cheered and drank to great ruler Richard and to his return. Then the stranger stood up, took off his head covering, and said, "My companions, I must tell you the truth. I am not a knight. I am your ruler Richard, too called the Lionheart." There was hush for a minute. The shock was so extraordinary. At that point, everybody at the table cheered and cried, "Welcome, domestic, ruler Richard." Everyone bowed down. Robin said, "We thank God for ruler Richard's return. I am a fortunate ruler. I have steadfast people," said ruler Richard, with tears in his eyes. "I know that my brother John and his men are untrustworthy and eager. Presently I am here to rebuff the awful and bring equity to all." Lord Richard looked at everybody and said, "You are not outlaws any longer. You're presently free men and all companions of mine. Robin, the lands of Locksley are yours again. You'll be able all take off Sherwood Timberland and live as free men." There was incredible energy within the air. That night, Lord Richard rested in Sherwood Woodland. The taking after morning, he rode to Nottingham with Robin, Marian, and his companions of Sherwood Forest. memory of the a long time went through in Sherwood Forest.